So in this session, we're going to be talking about how we can access child object records in master detail relationship. So we have some prerequisite work here that we have already done. I have created candidate object and the application object. Application object is the child object of candidate. And in the later on, we will try other scenarios where we're going to make this application a junction object. There we will also try accessing child object records as well. But in this scenario, what we're going to do is we're going to be comparing these two configurations. All right. Sometimes the access to child object records in master detail relationship depends on what kind of access we have to parent object records. Okay. So let's go back to this slide and review this. We have already created these objects and fields. We want to make sure that OWD for candidate object is private, meaning for the parent object is private. We also want to make sure that the test user has create, read, edit access to the candidate position and the application objects. You may ignore the position object for now. That's going to be used when we talk about the junction object scenarios. But for now, we have to make sure our test user has create, read, edit access to candidate and application objects. Let's go verify our configurations are set like this. And also, what I will do is from our previous scenario, I still have this profile assigned to our user. So I'm going to change that. I'm going to change this profile because this profile has that modify all data, right? So that's going to bypass the sharing rules and it's not going to work for us. That's why I'm going to assign the other profile, the original profile back to this user so that we can test this scenario, custom standard user. And this profile doesn't have those modify all, view all data permissions given. And also let's go to sharing settings, verify the sharing settings for the candidate and application. For the candidate, it is set to private. And for the application object, it says controlled by parent. That's what it is going to say for child object in master detail relationship, because the access to this object's records are controlled by the access to the records in this object, in the candidate object. I want to verify that our test user is not able to see candidate records that belong to other users. But before that, we also have to make sure our test user's profile has that required access to those objects. We want to make sure this. We want to make sure this access is given to the test user's profile. Let's navigate to the test user's profile. User, and this is the profile. So what are those two objects? They are candidate and application. On the candidate, we have this access given already. That's good. Let's also check application object. Under object settings, we'll go to applications. And on this object, we also have the required access. And you can also see that from this schema builder, this application is a child of candidate object, and they have this master detail relationship in between them. So what we will do next is we are going to share some candidate records with our test user. So let me see what candidate records I have as an admin user. So let's go to candidate records. So we have only one candidate record. And as a test user, I will try to see if I can see that candidate record or not. Candidates. So I can see this candidate record as a test user, right? And if you ask me why, let's open this record and go to sharing. Currently, this record is being shared with our test user. Even though the OWD for candidate is set to private, because of this manual sharing rule, our test user is able to see this particular record, right? Now, let this record be like that. Let's our test user have access to this. We could remove that or we could keep that as well. But I'm going to keep that as it is. And instead, I'm going to create a new record and save. All right. So, and I'm going to check as an admin. I see 2 candidates, but our test user will have access to view only the first one because the first one was manually shared with the test user and the second one is not shared, right? That's expected because of the OWD being private. Now, if we go to our application object and view how we configured this sharing settings when we were creating that master detail relationship, and after we review that, we're going to be playing and configuring these settings and see how it affect access to the related records. All right, so also what I want to do is I want to create an application for this Mike Phillips too. Mike Phillips is just standing by himself. He doesn't have any application. Let me create an application record and relate that to Mike Phillips, okay? This is going to be required because we're going to share access to candidate record and see what kind of access our test user gets to the related application record. Okay, that's why I'm creating 2 records here. Let's go to our application object. And check that master detail relationship. Here it is. Click on this field, click edit. And this default configuration now says that if a user has read-only access to the candidate record, then the user will be able to create, edit, or delete the related detail record, okay? Again, yes, the user will be able to perform these operations if they have read-only access to the parent record, but we also have to make sure the user's profile has create, edit, or delete access to the candidate object, okay? All the time, whatever permission is being given with the sharing rules, for those permissions to be executable by our users, we have to make sure their profile has that required access. That's what this requirement is saying here. That's the requirement. Okay. That's the baseline access. If that is not there, then they're not going to be able to do much with the records that we share with them. So let's go back again and keep this as it is. Okay. I'm going to cancel out from here. It was already set to read only. So as you can see, it's read only. And then as a test user, I'm going to go see, as a test user, I still cannot see the Mike Phillips record. And as an admin, I will share this Mike Phillips record with our test user. Let me go ahead and do that. So let's say share that with our test user. Okay. What kind of access I'm giving to the candidate object? I'm giving read-only access. Okay, and save. And then I'll go as a test user, do a refresh here. Now I can see Mike Phillips, okay? And then what I will do is I will go to the related record, which is application, and open this application and edit this and try to save. So our test user is able to edit the related application record. Okay, so why is that? And that is because of this configuration, right? We're saying as long as the user has a read-only access to the parent record, then they should be able to create, edit, or delete related detail record, detail being application here. Okay. So next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this. I'm going to make it read write. Let's edit that and change it to read write and save. Now with the read write, what we're saying is we're saying that the user must have edit access to the parent record so that they can edit the child record, basically. Okay. Read only is not enough anymore. So let's go to our test user and refresh this page. Now, as a test user, I'm going to try to edit this same record, right? So this was the Mike Phillips related record. To Mike Phillips record, we have shared as an admin user, we have shared Mike Phillips record with our test user. Now, with the recent change, that sharing setting, as a test user, I'm going to try to edit this, okay? So let's change this to high and click save. Now I'm getting this error. It says, oops, you don't have the necessary privilege to edit this record. Now, why is this happening? It's happening because here again, we are requiring the read-write access to the parent record. And to the parent record, when we were sharing this parent record with our test user, we gave read-only access to the test user to this parent record. Okay. That's why the test user is not able to edit the related application record. But if I change it to read-write and save this, now the user has read-write access to Mike Phillips record, and they will also be able to edit the related application record. Okay, so this is the application record. Now I'm going to try to update that, click save. Still error. Let me go ahead and refresh this. All right, let's go to this Mike Phillips. So this is the application record. And try to change this. Okay, let me go to the sharing setting one more time. All right, sharing settings. Okay, the access is still read only. Okay, let me change it to read write. Okay, and then click save. Let me verify I have given, so it still remains as read only access. So it's not allowing me to change it. So let me go ahead and completely, okay, let me change that from here and save. And it was updated. Let me confirm. Okay, it still says read only. Something is being off here. So I'm going to delete this, okay? Let me cancel that 1 second. Sharing, click edit. Okay, we're giving, even though this one says read only, this is the access matters because that is there to be applied for future sharing scenarios. But here we're giving read write. Now with this read write, I'm going to go to our test user account and let's refresh this and update this field and save. So I'm able to save this record. Why I'm able to save this record? Because I have read-write access to this Mike Phillips record, right? I can change Mike Phillips record too. So let me remove that and save again. So this is how it works for master detail relationship, how the sharing rules work for master detail relationship. The rules apply similarly to master object records, but for the detail object records, they work a little differently, and it depends on what kind of access the test user or other users have to the parent object records. So in this scenario, I have these two records, right? Mike Phillips and Mike John. To Mike Phillips record, our test user has edit access. But how about Mike John? What kind of access our test user has to Mike John? And it also says read write, but let's change it to read only and save. Okay. Now, what happens is with this change, our test user will not be able to edit the application record that is related to Mike John. Okay. So let's go to candidates and bring Mike John and see his application record. And we're going to try to edit that. And we're getting error here. But if I try the same thing to the Mike Phillips record, which is supposed to be at this one, okay, this is the record for Mike Phillips, and I'm changing this to high and saving, I'm successfully able to do that operation. Again, that's because of these settings we're doing. To Mike John record, our test user does not have write access. Our test user does not have edit access to Mike John, because when we were manually sharing it, we said, okay, give only read access to Mike John. Because of this and because of this sharing setting combined together, blocks our test user from editing the child record. But our test user is able to edit the other application record that is related to Mike Phillips, because when we were sharing Mike Phillips with our test user, we gave read-write access to that record. Okay, we gave read-write access, and that's what is required based on this configuration. That's what is required for users to be able to edit the related child records.